Korea, we have this word, 뜨끈하다. It means warm, as in warm food, but it means so much more than that. It's when it's so cold out there that it chills you to your very bones. It's the sort of warmth that heats you from the inside out and just thaws you out. And this coffee, it's a good start, but let's see what real Koreans eat when it gets cold out. It is cold out there. And we're at Myeongdong Gukbap, and this is that Gukbap, and they've been making it now for 45 years. Gukbap, all it means is just that the rice and the guk, they come out separately. That's all it is. But what makes it special is that it's a stock that's made out of yangji, which is brisket. And brisket, for those who know, it's a fatty and rich cut of beef. And what that means is that once that gets boiled down and turned into a stock, it just makes it super rich, full of all of that goodness. I finally feel like I've been able to get warm now. It's beefy, it's spicy, it's so perfect on a day like this. I'm just gonna keep eating. You know, if you think about it, Gukbap, it really is the food of the people. You know, you could, and you still can to this day, just go into the markets and go in for a really quick and satisfying meal. It's really almost like the original fast food. So it's cold and it's wet outside. This place I'm about to go to, it has a dish, I've never tried it before, so I'm super excited. So let's go check it out. So this is Gukbap, or oyster Gukbap, and it's an exercise in simplicity because there's less than a dozen ingredients in here, but it's so flavorful because oysters are in season right now. So let's take a taste. Now, one thing that you need to do when you have oyster Gukbap is to add to it, which are these greens right here. And this just gives it a great sort of bite and freshness. A lot of people, they only eat oysters raw, but when they're poached like this, they take on a completely different flavor, and it's incredible. So, this right here, it's a guk made out of mesengi, which is a type of seaweed. And right now is the time to eat it, wintertime, because it has to come from waters that are A, cold, and B, clean. So you can't harvest this from any other time of the year. Mesengi, when you boil it and you turn to soup like this, it's like lava, it's really hot. So there's a saying that you give mesengi to someone that you don't like, because almost like a prank, just so you can burn their tongues off, essentially. The dish that maybe a lot more of our viewers are familiar with is miyeokguk. And it has a very similar flavor, but the texture is completely different. I got to warm up with these beautiful bowls of guk, and this is the sort of food that winter's all about, that can get you through the winter. So they call it the beef that comes from the ground. They mean soybeans, and it's because it's been feeding Koreans for thousands of years. And one of the many things soybeans can be turned into is dubu, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So it begins with the beans, and then with the process, you get two products. So you get this side, it's kongbiji, and when it's cooked, it has a texture very similar to grits or polenta. It's one of my favorite ways to have soybeans. And then you also have soy milk. And from here, the dubu making process begins. And so you can have a number of different products. You can have sundubu, which is a soft silken dubu, or you can have a firmer product, which can be pan-fried, griddled, put into a soup. It's endless because it's almost like a blank canvas. It takes on other flavors incredibly well. But if made properly, it should also have a flavor and character on its own. Today we're at Dubu Gongjakso, and this place is packed right now for lunch because places like this where they make their dubu every day fresh, they have a following, and people go where the food is good. And today we're having sundubu, and it's probably one of the most popular dishes, lunchtime dishes for workers. And it's because it comes out quickly and it's rich and satisfying, but it doesn't weigh you down. One of the great things about dubu is just the wide range of textures that you get. See, take a look at this. See how jiggly soft that is. Oh man. And it almost always comes with seafood, like a 해물 순두부찌개. And it's because that seafood goes really well with the spiciness, which in turn brings out the sweetness of the dubu. It all works very well together. So now we're at Seoul 뚝배기집, and the original location opened up in 1962, so they've been operating for 50 years now. And just last year, 2013 in June, they opened up their first location in New York. And here, they focus on traditional flavors, and their specialty, sundubu. It's lush, it's soft, it's almost more like a pudding in a way. It's custardy is what it is. But here they have a very specific way of making it. Instead of just adding the seasoning to stock and then bring it all up to a boil, they do that and then they age it overnight. They let it sit, they let it marinate, all those flavors mingle. And it's a well-known principle that soups and sauces generally taste better the next day because all of those spices have had a chance to bloom and open up. Oh man, that is flavorful. It just warms you to your very core. And this is the jeolbokkeum. Now, this is something of an unsung hero, I find. It's an incredibly popular dish. And part of it is just because it's really tasty because it's got that spice to it. If they grill it, sometimes it gets a nice little smoky char. And the pork as well, it takes on flavors really well. And they have a special way of serving it as well. So it comes with rice like it normally does, but you also have this bowl as well in order to mix it all up together. So the idea of taking sundubu to the United States, I think it's a great idea. But even here in Korea, this is something new. So regardless, if you're in the United States or in Korea, why not try a new spin on an old favorite? So Buam-dong, in a word, it's adorable. Winding hills full of cafes and restaurants and galleries. And some of our viewers who are fans of Korean dramas and movies will recognize it as well. Famous ones shot here, Coffee Prince, as well as countless others. It's the perfect place to spend a Sunday afternoon as far as I'm concerned. One of the great places in this neighborhood, the Hwangi Museum. Currently their exhibition is the Seongnanwi exhibition. So go check it out and grab a coffee or a tea at the cafe and just enjoy all of this. It's fantastic. So this is 소소한 풍경, and it's so representative of this neighborhood. This restaurant, it really does feel like it is the perfect Buam-dong joint. And this braised eggplant. Braised eggplant doesn't sound Korean at all, but when you smell it and you taste it, it is distinctly Korean. It's a modern, unique take on our flavors. Oh, if you look here, it has this bright red oil on the top of the broth. So what happens is that when you swallow the soup, it's the last thing to hit the back of your throat, so it gives you a nice It's 얼큰해 is what we call it in Korean. The eggplant is super tender. It's been braised for about 20 minutes or so, so it's really gotten a lot of the flavor from the broth. It's just soaked it right up and just given some back as well. And we have a salad. It's got a little dubu in there, and the dressing is made from orange, but when you taste it, it tastes distinctly Korean. The salad just looks fun. It looks light, it looks crisp, it looks refreshing. It looks to be a really good contrast to the soup. problem I get with a lot of salad dressings is that they're just really unbalanced half the time. Too much oil, so they're greasy. This one, it's got a really good balance. Think about Buam-dong. It doesn't wear you out. It's a neighborhood that gives you energy rather than takes it from you. So right now we're at Turim, and the thing is that coming in here, it feels very Korean. The same feeling that you get from a lot of these sorts of dishes, one of them being kongbiji. Here they have a special recipe that involves beef bone broth, and they also add a ton of seafood into the stock as well. I've never had this dish like this before, and pizza is one of my favorites, so let's give it a taste. That's really tasty. A lot of times, jjigae can be a little bland. Here, they give it a nice salty kick. I really like that. And this dish, like a lot of great dishes from around the world, it came out of using essentially what's left over from another process and turned it into a dish all on its own. And that sort of resourcefulness always ends up, usually with something delicious. Dubu has always been a staple when it comes to making vegan cuisine. So here at the Smaljo vegan restaurant, they focus a lot on that. And what I have in front of me right now, it's a cream pasta, but in the place of any sort of dairy, they use soy milk. Now, soy milk is a great ingredient to use. I use it often as an intermezzo, as a little palate cleanser in between courses. And here, it's a place of dairy. So what's great is that it has like a natural sort of silkiness, a smoothness to it. One of the advantages of using soy milk over dairy definitely is that you can actually taste the pasta. It has that trademark soy milk flavor to it, but it's very subtle. It's only there if you kind of are looking for it. So if you serve this to me and I wasn't paying attention, I could probably swear that there's dairy in there. And our main course for this evening, it's a Dubu steak. One thing that I like about produce is that vegetables, there's such a wide range of flavors available. Meat always kind of tastes like meat, but produce can taste like anything you want it to. Oh, that crunch is great, and the acid from that bustle and vinegar is fantastic. They're not fooling anybody. This clearly isn't meat, but I don't miss it. Really, I don't need it in this dish. It's balanced enough in flavor, and that's really what's key, is balancing out all the flavors. It takes Dubu and it really celebrates it, is what it does. All right, so it's the end of the year, so it means one thing here in Korea. End of the year parties, or 연말 파티. But sometimes it can get a little out of hand, and just in the case your holidays are a little too merry, we have something for you. Haejanguk. It's a hangover soup, and trust me, no matter what you go through the night before, this will cure it. Actually, I think I'm nearly there. Cheers, guys. I just noticed this place is packed right now. They must have all had a really long night out because, man, this place is packed. Here in Korea, when people think haejanguk, probably the first thing that comes to mind is this. It's bulgogi. And bulgogi, it's a type of dried fish, and it has to be prepared in a certain way first of all. It has to be pounded in order to sort of break it up. And as a result, what you get is a very unique texture, and it's packed full of flavor as well. It tastes very clean, so it goes down easy, after a long night out. And they actually, to make this stock, they boil the bones for about 12 hours. and then they add the pugo. And it's got the dubu and the egg in there as well as the green onion, and all of those flavors are, they're good bedfellows. So, it creates a very well-rounded dish. The reason why that bulgokkuk is so popular as a type of haejangguk, it's full of the essential amino acids, especially the ones that protect the liver. So, after tying a few on, you want to make sure that, you get the old liver up back to speed. Oh, now this is what you want to wake up to. So this is 뼈 해장국, and 뼈 refers to bone, and that bone refers to the fact that this comes from, the pork spine and the ribs. And essentially what you have here is this protein bomb. Oh man, it's braised to perfection. It just melted right off. Not only will this probably cure a hangover, I have a feeling this could probably cure most diseases. It's that good. This has a certain cabbage. It's known as ugoji, and it's one that you find mainly in soups here in Korea. First of all, it's delicious. It's fantastic. But second, it's full of all these micro and macronutrients that you need to sort of, again, get you back up to 100%. So we've gone through a couple of classic favorite haejangguk. So now we're gonna go for something a little special, and that's pork. And pork is blowfish or pufferfish. And apparently this place that we're at right here, it's been here for 40 years. It's one of the largest blowfish restaurants in Korea. The great thing about pork is that it's a clear, light broth. So it's a great way to get rehydrated. It just smells so good. It's, oddly enough, the word that comes to mind when you taste this is sweet. It's not sugary or anything. Don't get that idea. There's no honey or anything added to this. It's a natural sweetness. And a lot of that comes from the 콩나물, the bean sprouts, and the minari, which are also great sort of, hangover fighting ingredients. You have the soup, and oftentimes you'll have, the sliced raw fish as well. But they also do a lot of other things with the rest of the fish as well. So that's the 껍질 무침. It actually tingles in your mouth a little bit when you eat it. It's a really, really cool sensation, and it takes on other flavors really well. If you want something different, something a little left of center as your hangover cure, go for the blowfish. Today, we're in Gwangju City in Gyeonggi Province. Now, this is a city that's best known for being steeped in history and traditional culture, but there's also a decidedly contemporary and modern bent to it. So there's a ton to check out, so let's go. So today I'm at the Young Museum of Contemporary Art, and they feature pieces by both established and up-and-coming artists. It's all based on modern art, and what's really cool is that they have a studio and a workshop, and they really focus on the preservation of art. So it really is an artist's museum. So I'm here at the Engdene Wedding Cafe, and they primarily specialize in wedding photography, but it's also a cafe that's open to the public. So from what I hear, young couples will actually come in and they'll put on wedding clothes and act out their wedding fantasies. I'm at Namansanseong, or Namansan Fortress, and it's been standing since the Three Kingdoms era. It's what's known as a hengung, or a kind of a satellite palace for when the king was visiting away from his main palace. Sort of a home away from home. A very large home, if you will. This is Mongwal Temple. It was founded about 1400 years ago. It's actually at the center of a lot of different historical events. But more than that, this place is quiet, it's peaceful, it's serene. And the nearby mountains make for some excellent hiking. I'm at the restaurant Goyang Sancheon, and I'm about to enjoy my first ever bowl of hyojonggeng. Now, I've never had this before, but it's a take on the classic haejanguk, which is a soup that you drink after a long night out, let's say. But this one, it's got beef short rib, it's got sea cucumber, it's got abalone in it. I'm incredibly excited. I've never even heard of it before, but it smells delicious, so about to give it a shot.